South Sudan's main opposition party says a peace agreement that ended a 5-year civil war in the country has collapsed. This comes just one day after the arrest of party leader Riek Machar. The party's deputy chairperson said it shows a lack of political goodwill to achieve peace and stability. On Monday, the United Nations warned that South Sudan is on the brink of a renewed civil war following clashes in the north between an armed group loyal to Machar and government forces. South Sudan's deadly 5-year civil war, which killed 400,000 people, ended with the 2018 peace agreement. This agreement brought President Salva Kiir and Machar together in a unity government. Nicholas Coughlan, former ambassador to South Sudan, joined us for more on the conflict.
Here we're talking about South Sudan, which is a different country from Sudan. And the problems in South Sudan are related, but only quite indirectly. So in a word, what we have here is a problem that has been in South Sudan for, well, visibly for at least 30 or 40 years. When South Sudan was fighting for its independence from the Greater Sudan, there were two dominant tribes, the Dinka and the Nuer. There are about 40 or 50 other tribes, but those are the two dominant ones. And those two dominant tribes are historic rivals. And one reason the civil war took so long, one reason that it took so long for South Sudan to gain independence was that those two rivals historically did not get on. And it was only when they came together, when Dinka and Nuer came together to confront the North, that they achieved independence. So you've had the two groups have fallen out repeatedly. Most notably, in 2013, the leader of the Nuer people, Riek Machar, decided he was going to challenge Salva Kiir, the president, who is a Dinka, decided he was going to challenge him for the presidency. So that led to the first South Sudan civil war, which started December 2013, lasted for 2 or 3 years, cost 400,000 lives. So essentially a fight between the two dominant ethnicities in South Sudan. That broke out again, a smaller outburst in 2016 in the capital. So what we're seeing now is another manifestation of that same historic rivalry between the two large ethnic groups, and it's personified by two people. The president, Salva Kiir, who is a Dinka, and the vice president, Riek Machar, is a Nuer. The latest manifestation arises out of an incident in March when troops based in the Nuer heartland up in the north and Dinka troops were attacked by a Nuer militia known as the White Army. And as a response to that, President Kiir, who is Dinka, in many ways mobilized against the Nuer. He fired all of the Nuer ministers in his cabinet. He called in the Ugandan military to help him out and also to attack the White Army up in the north. And 2 days ago has actually placed his rival Riek Machar under house arrest. So a very tense situation in Juba, in some ways a replay of the last two incidents, and there is this fear that it may lead to another major outbreak of conflict, of basically another civil war in South Sudan. Well, as you know, we've had another major war going on in Sudan to the north. And I should say that war is not directly linked. It has contributed to the conflict in the south in one critical way. South Sudan has oil, but South Sudan's oil flows to market through two pipelines that go through Sudan. For most of the last 2 years, those two pipelines have been cut, been out of action. So in other words, South Sudan has not been shipping oil, therefore getting no income. So last year, for example, the GDP of South Sudan fell by 27% on account of the lack of oil sales. Amongst other things, that fall in GDP, that fall in income, means the army and the civil servants, everybody from teachers to health workers, have not been paid. So when you have a large unpaid army, that really contributes to the tension. What they have is their weapons. They don't have money, they have their weapons. So we have a much more disciplined, much more undisciplined army than we had before. So there is the potential, if, how can I say, if the president misjudges this, in a word, what the president is trying to do, or this is what his critics say he's trying to do, is trying to remove Riek Machar from the equation. Because Riek Machar is his rival. Elections have been postponed again and again and again. They are now scheduled for 2027. He wants him out of the way. If he misjudges that, if he manhandles him, or worse, then there is the risk of a Nuer uprising across the country again.